Cleopatra, Mark Antony. Their names echo through history, synonymous with passionate love and tragic destiny.
He, a Roman general at the height of his power.
She, the last pharaoh of Egypt fighting to save her kingdom.
Together, they defied an empire and challenged the very foundations of Roman power.
Cleopatra, often portrayed as a mere seductress, was a shrewd strategist and a brilliant diplomat.
Antony, a seasoned soldier and charismatic leader, was drawn to her intelligence and ambition as much as her beauty.
Their affair, far from being a mere dalliance, was a calculated alliance, a strategic partnership aimed at securing their mutual interests. This is the story of their tumultuous love affair, their struggle for power, and their ultimate downfall. Born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, Cleopatra VII ascended to the throne of Egypt in 51 BC. She inherited a kingdom in decline, its once vast influence waning under the shadow of a rising Roman Empire.
Fluent in multiple languages and possessing a sharp intellect, she was a skilled negotiator and a shrewd politician.
Contrary to the often repeated myth of her breathtaking beauty, Cleopatra's power lay in her charisma and intellect. She was a master of image and presentation, carefully cultivating an aura of power and allure.
Cleopatra was also a pragmatic ruler, willing to make alliances and compromises to maintain her grip on power.
Her relationship with Julius Caesar, which produced a son, Caesarion, was a testament to her political acumen. Marcus Antonius, or Mark Antony as he is more commonly known, was a man of action and ambition. A skilled soldier and a charismatic leader, he rose through the ranks of the Roman army, proving himself a capable general and a loyal supporter of Julius Caesar.
After Caesar's assassination, Antony formed a powerful triumvirate with Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, and Marcus Lepidus, another of Caesar's generals.
Antony, however, was not simply a military man. He was also a skilled politician and a shrewd strategist. His relationship with Cleopatra, while scandalous to Roman sensibilities, was also a strategic masterstroke.
Egypt, with its vast wealth and resources, was a valuable ally for Antony in his struggle for power against Octavian.
Antony's love for Cleopatra was no secret. However, his infatuation with Cleopatra and his disregard for Roman customs would ultimately prove to be his undoing. In 41 BC, Cleopatra sailed up the Cydnus River to meet Mark Antony in the city of Tarsus. She was determined to secure his support and forge an alliance that would protect Egypt from Roman encroachment.
Cleopatra's barge, adorned with gold and silver, its purple sails filled with the scent of exotic perfumes, glided majestically down the river.
She herself, dressed as the goddess Aphrodite, reclined beneath a canopy of gold, attended by young boys dressed as cupids and maidens scattering rose petals.
Antony, accustomed to the austerity of Roman life, was utterly captivated. Their meeting in Tarsus marked the beginning of a passionate love affair and a powerful political alliance that would shake the very foundations of the Roman Republic.
The relationship between Cleopatra and Mark Antony was a complex tapestry woven from threads of love, ambition, and political expediency.
We were drawn together by a shared desire for power and a mutual respect for each other's abilities.
I was captivated by Cleopatra's intelligence, her charm, and her political acumen.
Their love affair, however, was more than just a political arrangement. They shared a genuine affection for each other and enjoyed a lavish lifestyle in Alexandria, attending banquets, hunting, and indulging in the pleasures of the Egyptian court. Cleopatra bore Antony 3 children, further cementing their bond.
Our relationship, however, was not without its challenges.
Antony was still married to Octavia, the sister of his fellow triumvir, Octavian.
Antony's relationship with Cleopatra was used as propaganda against him, portraying him as a besotted fool under the spell of a foreign queen. Despite the challenges and the growing animosity between Antony and Octavian, Cleopatra and Antony remained together for over a decade.
In 34 BC, Mark Antony made a move that would have far-reaching consequences.
In a grand ceremony in Alexandria known as the Donations of Alexandria, I declared Cleopatra and our children rulers of Egypt and various other territories in the east.
This act, seen as a direct challenge to Roman authority, enraged Antony's enemies in Rome and provided Octavian with the ammunition he needed to turn public opinion against him.
Antony was attempting to consolidate his power in the east and create a power base that could rival mine in the west.
However, by granting Roman territories to Cleopatra and their children, Antony alienated many of his supporters in Rome and played into Octavian's hands. Octavian seized upon the donations of Alexandria as evidence of Antony's disloyalty to Rome and his ambition to rule as a Hellenistic monarch alongside Cleopatra.
I skillfully used propaganda to portray Antony as a traitor, a puppet in the hands of a foreign queen. The Roman Senate, swayed by Octavian's rhetoric and alarmed by Antony's actions, declared war on Cleopatra, effectively declaring war on Antony as well.
The Battle of Actium, fought on September 2nd, 31 BC, was a naval engagement that sealed the fate of Mark Antony and Cleopatra.
Our fleet, though larger, was composed of heavier, less maneuverable ships.
Octavian's fleet, commanded by the skilled Admiral Agrippa, was smaller but faster and more agile.
I was present at the battle with my own fleet but panicked and fled the scene.
Cleopatra's departure was followed by a disheartened Antony. Their departure demoralized Antony's remaining forces, who were soon overwhelmed by Agrippa's superior tactics and the faster Roman ships.
Antony and Cleopatra, their forces shattered, fled to Egypt, their dreams of a shared empire lying in ruins. The battle marked the end of the Roman Republic and paved the way for the establishment of the Roman Empire under the rule of Octavian, who would later be known as Augustus Caesar.
After their defeat at Actium, Antony and Cleopatra retreated to Alexandria, the once vibrant capital of their dreams now shrouded in the shadow of impending defeat.
Octavian, determined to crush his rivals and secure his hold on the Roman world, pursued them relentlessly.
As Octavian's forces closed in on Alexandria, Antony made a last stand, but his troops, demoralized and outnumbered, were defeated.
Cleopatra, fearing capture and humiliation at the hands of the triumphant Octavian, sought refuge in her mausoleum, a magnificent tomb she had built for herself.
Antony, believing Cleopatra to be dead, fell upon his own sword, taking his own life rather than face defeat and capture.
He died in the arms of his loyal followers.
Cleopatra, however, was very much alive. When Antony's body was brought to her, she was grief-stricken. According to legend, she allowed an asp, a venomous Egyptian cobra, to bite her, choosing a swift and painless death over the humiliation of captivity. With the deaths of Antony and Cleopatra, Egypt fell to Octavian, bringing an end to the Ptolemaic dynasty and marking the beginning of Roman rule in Egypt. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, was more than just a beautiful queen or a tragic heroine.
Her intelligence, her political acumen, and her ability to command loyalty and respect, even from her enemies, have often been overshadowed by her legendary love affair with Mark Antony.
Cleopatra was a master of image and presentation. She understood the power of symbolism and used it to her advantage, presenting herself as the embodiment of Isis, the Egyptian goddess of magic and fertility.
Despite her efforts, Cleopatra's reign marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the beginning of Roman rule in Egypt.
However, her legacy extends far beyond the fall of her kingdom. She remains a figure of enduring fascination, a symbol of female power, and a reminder that history is written not only by the victors, but also by those who dared to challenge the established order. Mark Antony, the Roman general who dared to love Cleopatra, was a man of contradictions.
He was a skilled soldier and a charismatic leader capable of inspiring great loyalty in his men.
However, his flaws, his impulsiveness, his pride, and his passionate nature ultimately led to his downfall. Antony's love for Cleopatra, while genuine, blinded him to the political realities of his time.
His decision to grant Roman territories to Cleopatra and their children during the donations of Alexandria proved to be a fatal misstep, providing Octavian with the ammunition he needed to turn public opinion against him.
Antony's tragedy lies not only in his defeat at Actium and his subsequent suicide, but also in the waste of his talents and the betrayal of his own principles. He was a man capable of greatness, but his flaws, magnified by his love for Cleopatra, ultimately led to his ruin. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of ambition, the intoxicating power of love, and the fickle nature of fate. The love affair between Cleopatra and Mark Antony continues to fascinate and inspire us centuries after their deaths.
The enduring appeal of their story lies in its universal themes.
It is a story that reminds us that even the most powerful individuals are not immune to the vagaries of fate.
But beyond the grand themes and the historical significance, the story of Cleopatra and Mark Antony is ultimately a human story. It is a story about two people who, despite their flaws and miscalculations, loved each other passionately, and fought to create a world where their love could flourish.
Their story, though ultimately a tragedy, reminds us of the enduring power of love, the allure of ambition, and the bittersweet beauty of a life lived on one's own terms. Their legacy lives on, not only in the history books, but also in the hearts and imaginations of those who continue to be captivated by their timeless love story.
Thank you for watching. Please leave your comments.